I had a barista ask me if I was lonely. I'm a 23-year-old single guy who's living alone in a one-bedroom apartment. Of course I get lonely. But I want to talk about the difference between being alone and being straight up lonely, because you can be surrounded by a ton of people and still feel lonely, and you can choose to be alone. Long story short, I'm at work, I need a coffee, I go downstairs. I'm friends with this barista now, like I always get a coffee, and she's social, so we always have like a good conversation. And she straight up asks me, am I lonely in my videos, because I'm always doing stuff alone. She asked me, how do I have so much energy to like be making all these videos? It really made me think. I went back to my desk and I thought about a lot of things that she said. I kind of had reason for everything she did say, and I want to talk about this because in society right now, I feel like a lot of people struggle with this loneliness feeling, or just being alone a lot more than we're used to, and then seeing on social media all these other people doing all these amazing things. And I feel like it's kind of affecting a lot of people's mental health. And I feel like I can speak on this because I moved out to Arizona for like an 8-month period, and I knew absolutely nobody. And in that time, I was working a full-time job, and I put all my extra energy into, making videos and, trying to grow these social media accounts. So I literally spent 97% of the time there all by myself. And I grew a ton in that time. I learned a ton about myself, but I will say there's a slippery slope of, totally isolation and trying to actually make yourself a better person or trying to grow a business, because there's definitely healthy ways to go about this and there's unhealthy ways to go about this. So this question really sat with me for a long time, and I really want to make a video about it, and I just want to talk about my journey. The only thing I know from a 23-year-old with this much life experience, I know what I've went through, and I want to share it to you, and maybe it can help somebody, or maybe you could give me advice on, whether you think what I'm doing is cool or not. Don't lie, you want to know about the gossip. So I've been in 2 long relationships. One was like 4 years, and one was like over 2. So I know how much time and effort and work goes into a relationship. And it's just something right now that I'm not ready to put myself in because I have other priorities in my life. It's my 20s, right? I got these few years where I just want to do what I want to do. And I know I have the rest of my life to pursue other things that are important and what will be top priorities later in life. For now, I get to pick what my priorities are. So, if it's a Friday night or a Saturday night and I want to make a YouTube video, bro, I'm gonna make a YouTube video. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And in that sense of being alone, I really don't think so, right? I do have a separate set of goals for me to get myself out there. Like I'm trying to go to run club more often, and I'm meeting up with some maybe old friends I haven't talked to in a little bit and catching up with them, getting food with them, connecting with other people. Like 100% I do have days of the week where, okay, this is what I wanna do. I wanna put all this stuff to the side and focus on this. A well-rounded individual will have every aspect of their life in balance. Is it perfect? No, nothing ever is, nothing ever will be, but you can only work towards getting better at it. And where I would say where I struggle the most is, for me personally, it is sitting in silence. It hits hardest late at nights, like going to bed at a good time and just putting the phone down at like 9 p.m., chilling with just me and my thoughts until 10 and going to sleep at a reasonable time is where I probably struggle with the most. We have things like TikTok where you can literally completely distract your mind from the outside world and just kind of be in this void of scrolling. 90% of the time, and I say 90% of the time, I choose to be alone, right? And there's definitely some dark times where I do feel lonely, which is crazy to think about, and some people probably can't imagine it, but those same people will never understand how much you can really get done when you just lock in day after day for like an extended period of time. It is bizarre. But with that will come some, mental health problems. No, I'm just kidding, but low-key serious. So it's a little bit easier for me because for me, there's no question in my mind of this is what I want to do, right? I choose to do this and I choose to work on this because I have this like vision in this journey where I feel like if I put in all this work right now in my 20s, when I know I have very little real responsibilities, I have so much free time on my hand, and I know right now is the most amount of energy I'm ever gonna have. Cheers to that. So I'm choosing to dedicate a lot of my time to this passion that I have, and that kind of distracts me from the sense of feeling lonely because I'm on this like mission. Once you see that little bit of growth, once you see that ball rolling, you will start to get addicted to this process of, personal growth, or, growing a business, or, you're a fitness journey to make yourself a healthier individual. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, going out and doing all these things can be a lot of distractions, and it's a lot of noise where when you just, close off that door, you can get so much more done than you ever thought imaginable. But there's a balance to it, and I want to talk about this little spectrum that I like to think of because, there's super social people and then there's antisocial people. And, you don't want to be on either ends of the spectrum in the sense of, right, you don't want to be someone who's always constantly with people and they hate being alone, they can't be alone. And then the other side of the spectrum, of course, is like complete isolation, right? You don't want to be someone who's never around other people, who never has social interactions. Social interactions are definitely one of the best medicines for mental health. It is crazy how much it can like cheer you up and put you in a good spot. Yeah, I want to talk about more of the isolation side because that's what I can relate to. But personally, I don't see anything wrong with choosing to be alone if you have something that you're working towards and you're trying to get better at. If I was somebody else watching my videos and I didn't know me at all, I would also assume the same thing. But I just want to kind of like explain myself in the sense of there's so much opportunity that I see with posting these videos and putting all this work in. And I want to ask the question, what's wrong with being alone? 100% everything has to be in moderation, right? If you do too much of one thing, it's not good. If you do too much of the other, it ain't good. If you have something that justifies or a purpose of being alone because you're working towards something, whether it be yourself, whether it be a business, whether it be a fitness goal, whether it be a religious goal, whatever it may be, sometimes the isolation of putting yourself in a spot where the only thing you have to do is focus on whatever task you're trying to complete, I think it can be one of the most beneficial things in our society because there are so many distractions in our world right now where we see what every single person our age or older or younger than us are doing on a day-to-day basis. All we do is open up our phone and we see all these different lifestyles you can live. It's really hard to be sure that what you're doing is right. You could be doing something that you love and you're still gonna wish you had something else. The grass is always greener on the other side, and there's so many different voices that are always telling you, what to do, what's right and what's wrong. Knowing what you want in this life and knowing the steps to get there and actually taking action and doing what you want is one of the most powerful things I feel like you can be given the opportunity to do because it gives you a sense of so much purpose.
I'm acting like I have all my life figured out. I don't. I just enjoy making YouTube videos and I'm justifying why I'm alone a lot of the time. And I'm trying to help people that also might be a loner.
And this goes right back to the beginning of I want to make sure I emphasize don't listen to what anyone else says. If you're taking advice for somebody that's living a life that you don't want, I think that is silly because there's so many voices that have people telling you what to do and they don't even know what they're doing themselves. And everyone's confused in this life. Nobody knows what the right answer is and there is no right answer, right? A perfect life from somebody on this side of the world versus a perfect life on somebody on the other side of the world, it's not gonna line up the right way. There is no correct answer. We're all just a bunch of babies that have grown up and are trying to figure out what the best way to live life is. Okay, you get it now. I'm a loner, whatever. Let's talk about now, I do think social interactions, hanging out with people, having healthy relationships is one of the biggest foundations to life. So now I do want to talk about the importance of going out and meeting people because I don't want to underplay that card. Having healthy relationships, whether it be a good friend group with family, whatever it may be, is one of the most important aspects to life for mental health, but also just like, what is a good moment if it's spent alone? Like what if you reached all your goals, all your successes, and you had it all, you had everything, and you're in this big mansion all alone, right? That's when the loneliness will creep in. That's like my favorite analogy of just remember relationships are the foundation of life. A good life is a life where you're surrounded by people that you love. And I also want to say this is relative to me and my age. Like I said, I'm a 23-year-old. If you're like a 50 or 60-year-old watching this, dude, what the hell do I know? I don't know anything. You probably know way more than me. I just thought it was important for me to make this video because somebody called me out on it and I was like, what am I doing with my life? I feel pretty confident that I'm really happy with what I'm doing and it's meaningful. I have a purpose to doing it and I think it's gonna lead me to greater things later in life with a bunch of opportunities. And I feel like just dedicating a little bit of time in this long life, it's definitely worth it. Worst case scenario is I'm at 30 and I have underlived my 20s and now I have a bunch to look forward to and maybe I got a little bit more wealth, a little more action here and there. Or I could have the best 20s of my life, greatest memories and everything, and then I hit 30 and I'm at a crisis of, okay, life is really starting to speed up now. I got more responsibilities. Like, what do I do? Do I actually know who I am? Do I actually know what I want? Or was I just so focused on having a good time? I'm young, I'm only young once. I want to do everything I can possibly do with the little money I have, you know? Like, I feel like at the end of the day, the more work I put in now, the better off I'm gonna be later in life. But I also know that's like a cliff of don't get wrapped up into becoming like too much of a workaholic or something. If you got a goal, hold on to that thing. Don't tell a lot of people because people can ruin your dreams. Work in silence, that's my advice. And if you genuinely are tired of being alone and you wanna meet new people, you gotta go to clubs. Clubs, it's so hard to go to. I know sometimes it's hard to put yourself out there, it's hard to talk to people. But in clubs, the people you're surrounding yourself with are people that are also trying to meet new people. So you're giving yourself the best shot. It is hot as hell out here. Let me also say, I thought this was gonna be the easiest video I've ever made. Like, I was like, oh, this would be so easy to talk about. I've recorded this 3 or 4 times now, deleted 95% of all the film, and like, this is what I'm left with. But this has been a really hard video to make, and for multiple reasons, I didn't know what way I wanted to go with it. So all of you wondering if, I'm bored being alone all the time, now you know. I'm pretty fulfilled, but definitely social interactions are important and I'm working on it. I'll try to get more people in the video as well. I feel like getting more people on the video and me being comfortable recording with other people will make this whole channel more engaging. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you next time. When I moved out to Arizona, I thought being alone was what I needed to grow. And yeah, I did grow, but I also learned that life isn't meant to be spent alone. The best moments, the real moments, they're meant to be shared with friends, with family, with people who remind you that you're not doing this by yourself. And that's something that I'll always carry with me.